and getting a tremendous ovation from the full house on the night. There with their red tracksuits, the local boxers. First into the ring, it's Ernest Victory Jr., whose turn it was to fight first. Unfortunately, Joseph Neal did not fight, as his opponent didn't turn up on the night. But there they all are, limbering up before being presented to the crowd. The Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Eddie Byrne, as usual doing a tremendous job. Los Santos, Parodi, Garcia, Bonfante, Siteri, and at the end it's Renato Rodriguez. A special award here for the old white bomber himself, Mr. Ocello, and another for Mr. Ferrari, former greats in local boxing circles. One has to remember the early 60s, late 50s Ocello Calero fights in La Linea and in Gibraltar. And in the end, the boxers were announced, they crossed the floor, shook hands, and everything seemed ready for the evening's proceedings.
The formalities over, it was then time for the first bout of the evening, featuring Ernest Victory, son of the Gibraltar Club's trainer, and James McLaren from the Fitzroy Lodge. Ernest Victory, a lot of expectation among the crowd for this bout, but certainly not more expectation than from Dad, who was there, second man there at the ropes, and up against a lad who seemed to have a little bit of longer reach than Ernest. There are the initial moments, both opponents sizing each other up, but Victory very quickly landing a left. They're showing good technical skill, coming forward well, using his jab and blocking his opponent out, then reacting with that right. A couple of good combinations from Victory. His opponent trying to get in, but leaving his guard down, and Victory, more mobile, taking full advantage of it. McLaren landing a couple of punches there, but not really a lot of power in it, and you could sense immediately that the harder hitter of this pair was Victory. They're the first of several warnings in this bout to Ernest Victory to raise his head. He did have a tendency to duck when protecting himself. They're coming in through there well with the left jab, trying to open up his opponent's defense. Connecting with that right. And the first round coming to a close with Ernest Victory, I think, on top, on points, having connected better, more telling blows than his opponent, and the crowd already warming up to a good evening's boxing. Father and son there in the red corner, and great shouts from the crowd who filled the stadium hall to capacity. And if the hall had been any bigger, it could still have been full, because there were countless people left outside without tickets. But it's round two. Victory immediately on the offensive. Landing good combination there, left and then a right. And pushing his opponent back onto the ropes. A great flurry that from Victory, really pulling in the punches there. And the referee, a little unpopular with the crowd for warning Victory again about ducking his head. But really, all the offensive there coming from Victory. Certainly showing good preparation. Able to maintain these flurries for quite a long time. And looking much stronger than his opponent, who is beginning to reel a little bit now at this stage. Victory's head again down and receiving a third warning from the referee. But already well ahead in this bout, and having really taken the whole initiative in this second round. A bit of a reaction from McLaren coming back. A brave fighter this. Despite the punishment he'd been taking, he still came forward on the attack. But the respite was just momentary. And Victory again landing good punches. Looking for the combinations. Didn't come off on that occasion. And the bell going at the end of the second round. Both these youngsters fighting 2 1.5-minute rounds, with the third round now still to come, which would be one of 2 minutes. McLaren still looking pretty whole. And there the start of round 3. Pretty much following the pattern of the previous 2, with Victory coming out, using his jab to open up his opponent's defense, and there landing a great right. Looking to land one in the stomach. And countering McLaren's attack well. Another good flurry of punches from Victory, sending his opponent reeling. There's opponent not really knowing too much about that. But the bout soon underway, and Victory, sensing that he could pull something off there, kept at his opponent. And just a brief pause in the proceedings to redo the laces in one of McLaren's gloves before the bout was restarted in these final moments of the last round. Anxious dad, but he must have sensed already that his son was well on top, and barring a knockout, it was always going to be his bout. Combination still coming, and standing his ground well. Rocking his opponent, and a great right, a left and then a right, and 2 or 3 very good left and rights there connecting. But it's Victory who's sent to a neutral corner, and a standing count for McLaren, with thunderous applause from everybody at Victoria Stadium. If there'd been any doubt in anybody's mind, this bout was certainly earnest Victory. And he was winning it in style, impressing with his technique, his stamina and his preparation, outclassing McLaren in every department. Credit to McLaren, he hung in there, refusing to go down. And yet another warning for Victory for ducking his head. But these now the closing moments of the round. And there it is. And nobody in the Stadium Sports Hall had any doubt whatsoever who had won that bout. A relieved father. And then it's confirmation of the results. And Victory receiving the applause, well deserved, for a memorable first victory.
Second bout of the evening, Adrian De Los Santos against B. Martin. De Los Santos in the red on the left. The last few words from the referee, D. Rogers. Came very quickly into the action. Good left jabs there. And there with a good left-right combination, shaking his opponent. He doesn't hang about. His opponent now coming out very well with his left jab as well. And there's tremendous right from De Los Santos. And he has to be sent away by the referee. Clearly outclassing his opponent here. Again, a tremendous left hook there, putting Martin onto the ropes. And Martin in all sorts of trouble with the round barely a minute old. Slightly longer reach from the visiting boxer. De Los Santos finding his way inside it at will virtually. Tremendous right there again, blocking his opponent, sending him back on his heels. Most of the crowd in fact sensing that De Los Santos was going to put him down at this stage, but all credit to Martin, who was hanging on there. Wild right from De Los Santos, marking time, trying to get his opponents on the rope. And that's the first round over, and De Los Santos clearly on top here. He landed a few telling punches, some pretty strong ones as well, and Martin doing his best to stay on his feet. Slight bit of swelling under his right eye, beginning of round 2. Well worked inside. That was a tremendous left hook from De Los Santos. And now he senses his opponent is ready for the canvas. Lunging into the rope, tremendous left again, and good left-right combination, and Martin is down. The towel in fact has been thrown in as well, and De Los Santos raises his hands victorious on his first win in his first serious bout. Martin a bit disconsolate. The victory to Adrian De Los Santos, deservedly so. He was all over his opponent, and Martin just didn't know what hit him from the early moments in the first round.
2-0 then to the Gibraltar Amateur Boxing Club, coming into this third bout, featuring Albert Parodi for Gibraltar in the red and Andrew Graham for the Fitzroy Club. Parodi looking the stronger boxer. He too had been training very hard, and he'd trained very hard for the bout that was to take place against the Spanish club, which never materialized. Disappointment for him on that occasion. He also trained for the last time one of the London clubs visited Gibraltar, but his opponent didn't turn up. So it was third time lucky for him, getting his first fight against Andrew Graham. Immediately looking for the big punch. But Graham defending himself well. His gloves, front of his face, either side of his head, not letting Parodi connect. And it was clear right from these opening moments that Graham had some boxing experience, very mobile, keeping out of the reach of Parodi's lunges, with Parodi looking somewhat more of the street fighter. Very strong, very aggressive, but most of the punches failing to connect. By contrast, the calmer Graham, sizing his opponent up, clearly didn't have anything like the punch that Parodi did. But most of these punches from Parodi landing on Graham's gloves. Graham still managing to keep out of the way of those lunges. Another pause for a lace that had come undone. one of Parodi's gloves, his right one. But everything back as it should be, and the fight resumed. Graham's defence still paying off. And Parodi realising he had to bide his time a little, look for the openings, try and create them, because Graham wasn't giving anything away. The bell for the end of the first round, and quite evenly matched in my opinion. Neither boxer connecting any really telling blows. The Parodi showing more aggression and clearly in possession of a much harder punch. But the fight still to be decided in the two remaining rounds as we go into round two. If you look at the defensive stance that Graham takes up immediately, legs wide apart to give him plenty of balance, and his gloves right round his face and his head, protecting him from the blows. Offensively, trying to get some points with that jab, there connecting a good left on Parodi's face, and another. But not really any power in those punches, though he was getting through to Parodi, something which Parodi was having problems in doing with a Graham who was really elusive and running round the ring, keeping out of Parodi's reach. Another left connected by Graham, and there sending Parodi reeling a little bit. Took a swing at that one but missed, and the immediate reaction from Parodi, but thwarted by Graham's defence yet again. Another left from Graham, and another. Parodi beginning to tire just a little bit, but he was very strong and he came out well. And I would have given that round to Graham, in fact, for connecting more punches, despite the fact that Parodi, as I say, was hitting harder. So to the third decisive round. Parodi coming out to try and win this, but not finding a way past that defence. Blow after blow, hitting those gloves or skimming over the top of Graham's head. But Graham also failing to connect in those punches. It was clear that the greater experience of Graham was serving him in good stead. He was keeping out of trouble, moving well, not allowing Parodi to land the telling punches, and whenever he could, stinging Parodi with that left jab. Parodi too getting a warning about excessive ducking. A couple of good punches reaching Graham's face that time. Well, they're trying to come through on the jab. So these now the closing stages of the bout. from Parodi, which the referee tells him off about because he'd already called for a break. But the fight resumes. And again Graham curling up into a little ball and moving, keeping away from the corner so that he could back off. Parodi taking the fight to him. Well, that's the end, and this possibly the most controversial bout of the evening. Eventually it's a majority decision in Parodi's favour, which Graham certainly wasn't happy with. There were certain people in the crowd also expressing their doubts, but certainly a very close contest with Parodi proving himself to be the stronger fighter, though not perhaps having the technique to break down his opponent's defence. A break followed, and after that it was bout 4.
Anthony Garcia in the red against Belmar. Belmar looking very classy, very fast as well. Garcia in fact on the ropes there, he can't seem to get out of that corner. And in fact the referee getting both boxers out into the middle so they can box properly. Garcia now trying to look for an opening. Belmar covering up very well though. Garcia not getting a look in. It's a good shot to the body, but he misses with that right. And that was a tremendous right into Garcia's head. Quick reaction though, but always backpedaling. Anthony Garcia didn't have much luck with that boxer. So far, Belmar looking well ahead and well in control. Now Garcia trying to get his opponents on the rope. Slips away from him though. Garcia on the ropes now. It's coming in from all ends. In the middle there, he's got a big one to his head. Ooh, and that was a nasty one to his liver, it looks like. And I don't think Garcia will be able to carry on. He's being counted out, he's on his knees, and there's no way he's going to get up from that one. Just one of those things, a bit of a lucky punch in the wrong place, and it's curtains for Anthony Garcia. 1 minute 25 seconds of the first round after a tremendous blow to his liver. A decision going to Belmar, and at that time 3-1 to the local boxers.
A lot of expectation for the 5th bout of the evening, featuring Adrian Sittery for the Gibraltar Club and Ian Sinclair. Ian, who was supposed to fight Renato Rodriguez, but the bout was changed, and Sittery coming away right from the bell, very, very fast, very strong, swinging away, coming out more like the street fighter, and told to keep his head up, but experiencing problems against an opponent who was not only taller than he and had a longer reach, but also knew what he was doing and moved well to keep out of trouble. Trainer Ernest Victory had told us before the bouts that Sittery was the strongest of the Gibraltar contingent. He certainly showed it in these early moments, but he couldn't connect any of the punches cleanly. And instead it's Sinclair who's using the jab to good effect, biding his time, waiting for Sittery to swing. Sittery getting another warning about ducking. Must bear in mind, of course, that this was also Sittery's first fight And some of the visitors had more experience than our local lads. And street fighting is one thing, but certainly fighting in the ring is very different. You could sense that Sittery was really just looking for an opening, waiting to throw the big punch that would floor his opponent. They're coming in, trying to connect. And Sittery's drive almost sending him crashing to the floor with the own momentum of his blows. Though Sinclair moved well, kept out of trouble. Fight resumes. And end of round one. Relatively even round. Neither boxer really landing any telling punches. Though Sittery looking more tired from those forays in search of his opponent. Round two. And again Sittery coming forward. Looking to land the punch. Whereas Sinclair biding his time, moving back well. And a good right there connecting from Sittery. But Sinclair jabbing all the time with his left. And connecting with that one. Ducking Sittery's blows. And then clinching. Right that time, sending Sittery reeling. But Sittery very strong, remaining on his feet. Sinclair landing another left. Setting up the right. And getting that angry reaction from Sittery. So this second round beginning to go Sinclair's way quite clearly. It was Sinclair's greater reach that was causing Sittery the problems. Sinclair could afford to stand back, poke out his left jab and connect with Sittery's face, whereas Sittery knew that he had to duck in and get right in there under his opponent's defense if he was going to make contact. And this is not an easy thing to do with somebody as mobile as Sinclair. There's Sinclair having connected with another good couple of punches. And that second round clearly going in his favour. Sittery a little bit displeased with himself, lacking the experience, not really knowing how to get past his opponent's defence. A great right and a left there from Sinclair. Sittery beginning to look a little bit tired. But they're throwing everything he has into it. Trying to come back. A very brave lad this. He took a few knocks, but he bounced straight back from them and went straight at his opponent. The referee sorting something out. Another few moments break, which of course will be welcomed by the boxers, gives them time to recover a little bit. But then it's straight back in the action, and Sinclair sensing that he had Sittery shaken, and rather more offensive than he was in the opening moments. Though moving all the time, conscious of the fact that if he allowed Sittery to land one of his punches, he'd be in trouble himself. A good right hitting Sittery's face there, and another, and a third, One of Sitteri's blows there, hitting him with the left. But he couldn't find a clear opening, and Sinclair survives that one. And goes back to his jabbing, keeping his opponent under constant pressure. There are 3 jabs to the face. And Sitteri looking pretty tired now. They're still throwing those punches. They're taking quite a lot of punishment. A push that time from Sinclair. Well, that's the end of the round. And the end of the bout. And a clear points decision in favour of Sinclair.
Bout number 6, Eddie Bonfante against Puncheon. Eddie Bonfante, 2 previous fights, not having won any of them. His opponent Puncheon there, moving very, very quickly. A nervous looking fighter. So he's buzzing up and down, bobbing and weaving, trying to get out of range. Bonfante keeping his cool, receiving a good one there to the right. His opponent not scoring, but certainly looks like he's upsetting Bonfante, although I must say he's keeping his head rather well. Trying to look for an opening. Puncheon, well, he's coming at you, but Bonfante very cool there, good combination. Puncheon keeps coming forward though. That's a good right from Bonfante. On the ropes trying to get away. He had a good jab earlier, but this man Puncheon just keeps going at his opponent. There's a little bit of red showing in Puncheon's face. There's going to be more after that one. Well, that's 2 hooks from Bonfante, standing toe to toe there on the rope. And now one of them is going back. Credit to both boxers, they're standing toe to toe, having a go at each other. Bonfante keeping his cool, his back to the ropes, not budging an inch. And the crowd now really getting behind Bonfante, seeing that he could get the upper hand against his opponent. Marginally ahead, I would think, Bonfante after the first round. I can never tell what it's like inside though, but there's Bonfante jabbing very well, coming out in the second round. Ooh, that's a big right to Bonfante's face. He has to hang on in there. That one must have hurt. His opponent doesn't seem to want to stop at anything. Bonfante being told off for pulling his opponent in. That's a good jab. He covers himself up quite well, Bonfante does. And his opponent seems to have slowed down. It's a good right, another good right cross and a left hook. And a good combination here. His opponent on the rope now, Puncheon covering up. Bonfante perhaps trying to overdo it. And that's another good 1-2. Right on the nose for Puncheon. Puncheon a good left jab now. And now he's hanging on. because he could be in trouble. Both boxers now looking a little bit tired. They both had a bit of punishment. They both used up a bit of energy already in those flurries earlier in this round. And here comes punching again with hands flying. Good right hand to Bonfante's face. Bonfante earning some time there, back in the middle of the ring. Rather aimless move there from Panchin. Heads up, says the referee. It's a bit of grabbing. That's a good right hand from Bonfante. And a little bit of showmanship from Panchin, which the referee will not have. Virtually asking for trouble, trying to make Bonfante lose his head. But Bonfante very, very comfortable, well settled, he knows what he's doing, and he won't be brought into that sort of situation. The end of the second round, Bonfante looking rather pleased with himself. Panchin with a stiff warning from the referee, Mr. Rogers, for that little bit of showmanship, which is totally out of order in this sort of competition. There is absolutely no need for that. Especially when one boxer is not entirely superior to the other. Good left-right from Bonfante again. Panchin moving a little quicker at the moment, looking for a break. He just missed there with his right hand. A good one to the body. So a loose left there from Panchin, trying to find an opening. A good left jab to Bonfante's chin. He's going in there, he's throwing everything at him. Bonfante taking this very well. He's received a little bit of punishment here, although he's not quite finished yet. Bit of backpedaling now from Bonfante. Panchin looking slightly stronger at this stage, keeps coming forward. It's not connecting very heavily, but he is scoring. It's a good jab from Bonfante. A couple of blows there, looked a little bit low, but red on both faces now. A good right. Lovely little combination he had from Bonfante. His opponent just can't keep away. He keeps coming forward though. And what a tremendous bout this has been. Very difficult to decide at the end of the day, I would imagine. Not long to go for the final bell. Both boxers still standing. Excellent entertainment for this packed house down at the Victoria Stadium. Both boxers giving their all. Bonfante trying to jab his way through the last moments of the bout and embrace a fitting end to this tremendous bout. Bonfante thinks he might have just got it. I think he thinks he's just done enough to get this one. Panchin taking the initiative, but the decision, unanimous decision for Eddie Bonfante. A tremendous fight from both sides, and Bonfante the winner.
So to the closing bout of the evening, that featuring Renato Rodriguez, a crowd favourite this, there in the red, and Gary Saini, who was originally to have been Adrian Sitteri's opponent. He was matched eventually against Rodriguez. But clear right from the start, the difference in reach between these two boxers. There, a good left connected by Rodriguez, but Saini dancing about in the middle of the ring, sizing his opponent up these opening seconds of the round, quite tame by comparison to what had just come before, with Rodriguez trying to take the fight to Saini. But Saini well prepared to counter with punches, as we can see there, the minute Rodriguez tried to get in too close. Both fighters showing rather too much respect for each other in these opening round. Both preferring to wait. And it's Saini who's coming through a little bit better than Rodriguez with his jab. And that short flurry of punches on the ropes. There's really nothing in it yet. The end of the first round. And if we remember the explosive start that Rodriguez had in his last fight, when he knocked out his opponent after just a matter of seconds, obviously a lot more cautious on this occasion, faced with a larger man with a longer reach. Still looking for an opening and trying to work the jab, but this is where the difference in reach showed. Rodriguez had to come very close to Saini to use his jab, and as you can see on those 2 or 3 occasions, Saini countered well. He was very fast with his left, connecting well. Never keeping still, making it a difficult target for Rodriguez to hit. Rodriguez ducking, trying to get in under the defense, but Saini clinching him. And as this fight wore on, you began to sense something of the inevitability of the outcome. Rodriguez didn't seem able to break his opponent's defense, and though his opponent wasn't really hitting him with much, he was scoring with those jabs and occasional flurry of punches, which Renato seemed able to do very little about. Another couple of jabs from Saini. And at the end of the second round, neither boxer really hurt in any way, but Saini probably well ahead on points at this stage. So to the final round of the evening's boxing. Rodriguez told off by the ref for pushing, but to be quite honest, it was 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Saini also doing his pushing in there. You saw the way Rodriguez was pulling out his arm as if to measure the distance between himself and his opponent, and he never could get quite near enough. Time clearly on Saini's side. Just keeping it going with the odd jab. And Rodriguez trying yet again to get inside under the defence, but immediately finding himself hugged by his opponent to stop him from hitting him. And there Saini connecting a good punch as he countered Rodriguez's attack. And a good combination from Saini, rocking Rodriguez onto the ropes. And still coming forward. With Rodriguez defending himself as best he could. He too a strong lad. Can certainly take his knocks as well as meet them out. At the end of the bout, and that a clear one for Saini, ending the evening with a win for Fitzroy Club.
They've been steadily improving under Don Howe. They had the better of the early stages. Derby all over the place here. Shilton scrambling to get across to McDonald's effort, who was on the ground when he struck the ball. New signing Mick Harford is yet to score for Derby. He had a chance here though. The ball flicked away but not properly cleared. G gets it back in. Harford's header. Seaman turns it onto the post and away to safety. Derby were in front soon after though. Dean Saunders waiting for help. It's Forsyth's cross and G bravely putting his head in. Seaman this time will be unhappy that he didn't get across, but a goal for G in his first full game of the season. Harford strength in the air, undoubtedly going to be useful to Derby. This header hitting the woodwork. And 2 minutes left now as Rangers throw everything forward. Williams puts in a clearance. Saunders is away.